Hi BookTube, I'm Sylvia and this is my channel, A Journey Through Books. And before I start with my reading wrap up and my currently reading, my currently readings, books I'm currently reading, we'll make it sound like English, right? I first would like to express a great big thank you for everybody for hanging around while I was busy with working. Between the tasks that the kids have to write and the 3 exam papers per child, I had 900 scripts, etc. to mark, which kind of killed me for a while. I went through 5 red pens. But anyway, that's a whole other story, and now I'm on holiday and I don't want to think about it, and I'm pretty sure you don't want to hear about it. But anyway, in that crazy 3 weeks, I did manage to get a little bit of reading done, and I thought I would talk about it so that I can put these books behind me and move on to other things. So the first book I'm going to talk about is by Nujeen Mustafo, and this is The Girl from Aleppo, and it's otherwise published as Nujeen, which does not really, I suppose, tell you that much, because although it has her face on the front cover, if you don't know who Nujeen is, you're not going to understand that this is actually a story of a refugee and the progress from being a refugee all the way from Syria through to Germany. And what also makes the story very interesting is that Nujeen is wheelchair bound. She has cerebral palsy, and although the hero of the story, according to the book, is Nujeen, I feel her sister deserves the prize. That woman has, I don't know if you've ever pushed anybody in a wheelchair over surfaces that are not perfectly level tiled flooring, you know, where it's outside. Shit, man. There is no nice way to say how hard that is. So this woman needs major points because there was getting all the way down to the beach and all sorts of things. So let's talk about the book. So the whole purpose of these books is to highlight the human condition, which makes sense because if you want the economic issues or security concerns, you just need to watch the news. So this one does that very well. Not only do you have Nujeen, who is, well, she's not completely wheelchair bound, she has cerebral palsy, she's not paralyzed, but obviously, you know, there are limits as to how much movement you can have with cerebral palsy. And but anyway, so you have her story, and she also tells you about the events along the way. So how these refugees are drowning in their attempts to get through to the Greek islands on boats, how women have got really newborn babies because while on the run they have been, you know, they've given birth. It's quite something to understand the human side of it. She also highlights a lot that the people who are refugees are doctors and lawyers and accountants where they come from, and that they're not, you know, just homeless people as they are portrayed in you know, the media or visualized or told, you know, because she highlights that one country said that, you know, refugees were dirty, and that, you know, I mean, they were even given like lice checks and things along the way. But anyway, so there is that side. Now this book gives one a good idea as to why they are leaving Syria. She does make it personal. She tells you her story, how they ended up in Aleppo because of her disability. Her brother, she's got 2 brothers that are very much, actually her family were much older, her siblings were much older than she was, and her 2 brothers were already in Europe, and they would send money through to the family, and one of them found out about a surgeon that she should go and see, so her parents took her there. So you have how they end up in Aleppo, and the political climate there, the violence, etc., and how they move back to where they came from, which I can't remember right now. And then you have the bombing and the terrorism and she called them the day, you get the impression that from Malala it would be the same as the Taliban. But anyway, so you have this issue that they're dealing with and why they ended up leaving. And I basically just want to read a part here. This is from page 231. And she says here, nobody leaves their home without a reason. Sometimes I wake in the middle of the night with nightmares about the bombing and reach for my mum and she's not there and I feel sad. But after 2 or 3 minutes I think, Nujeen, you are still alive and far from bombing. Everything is okay. Here in Germany I feel safe. You can go for a walk and don't expect to be dead by morning. There is no bombing, no tanks, no army, no Daesh in the streets. On the 1st of November we moved into our new home, which is the ground floor of a 2-story German house on a suburban street in a small town called Wessling, 10 miles south of Cologne. It's made of concrete and bricks rather than gingerbread, and it is brown and cream rather than pink or blue. But to me it still feels like Disneyland, the kind of place I always dreamt of living in. And that's pretty much the tone of the story. Other things that I thought were pretty brave is that I think Nujeen is actually rather an annoying person. I know you're not supposed to say that of people with disabilities, but she really plays a disability card. And as I said, my sympathies were really with her sister who had to push this damned wheelchair. I mean, they did get rides in taxis and trains and buses along the way when they could. But for the rest of it, her sister pushed her and had to deal with this wheelchair. So I thought Nujeen was a pretty annoying a character in some regards. But then at the same time, I feel that if they had given me a Disney princess, I probably would not have felt it was as believable. So that actually, in the end, played in the book's favour. And one criticism is that I would say that the last section actually feels very disjointed. Up until that point, when you've got the history and then the movement, the refugee movement, that part is very well done. It flowed very well. But the last part, it was like she had too many random ideas that she wanted to put down, and they came across as a bit higgledy-piggledy. So that would be my only criticism with it, really. But it was interesting, and it kept me going, and it actually read very quickly, and the photographs in the book really do support what she speaks about, and it highlights both the terrorism and the violence, the war that is happening in Syria, plus her journey and where she is at the moment. I mean, she was 17 when she went to school for the first time. I mean, mind-blowing things like that. Anyway, moving on. So the next book that I read was, this one is not a happy read, but actually I really enjoyed it. And this is Joan Didion's The Year of Magical Thinking. And I did not expect to enjoy this book. I basically got it because it's on 1001 reading lists, and I feel that I should tick it off. And when I saw that the thing was actually super skinny, I thought, what the hell, why not? So I got it. And this book, it's some parts of this are so devastating. Joan Didion, this is non-fiction. While her daughter was in intensive care, pretty much in a coma, her husband dropped down dead. And for it, about 5 months afterwards, it was still touch and go as to whether her daughter was going to make it or not. And it was her year of coming to terms, grieving, trying to, keep him alive, I suppose, in a way. Try to understand what happened, trying to cope with what was going on. There are some things that were extremely touching, like the fact that, she couldn't bring herself to throw away her husband's shoes because he would need them when he came home. I know that we have not got rid of my dad's golf clubs. I don't play golf. I mean, I took them, my dad and I used to go and hit clubs together, or hit golf balls together, and it was a couple of months after my dad passed. I took my dad's clubs down to the driving range. I was going to go hit some golf balls, get some fresh air, and I basically cried the whole way, or the whole time I was there. Didn't see where a blooming ball went because all I was doing was crying my eyes out. And I've never been back. But anyway, that's a sob story. You don't need to know. But yeah, I found this exceptionally touching, exceptionally easy to read as well. I would actually like to find another book by hers. In fact, the one that I'm looking for is Slouching Towards Bethlehem because of the Yeats connection there. So I would like to give that one a read. but this is so touching, and there was elements of this that were so true as well. And she's done a lot of research for this book as well. So one of the things that she says, did I put the bookmark in the right place now? When she arrived at, well, she refers to Mrs. Post, who had a book on etiquette, and she was speaking about how when she went to the hospital with her husband, okay, basically he had died. He just dropped down dead in the house, and he was dead before the paramedics got there, and all the rest of it was pretty much, oh, I don't know how to put this, because in South Africa it doesn't work that way. If you're dead, they don't take you to the hospital, you go to the mortuary, and, well, a funeral home, and they're private, so it's up to you to know where to call at 4 o'clock in the morning or earlier. But anyway, so yeah, when she went to the hospital, she was pretty much bare-legged in slippers, wearing only the linen skirt and sweater, into which I changed to get dinner. This was part of it, but I was also cold because nothing in my body was working as it should. Mrs. Post would have understood that. She wrote in a world in which mourning was still recognized aloud, not hidden from view. Philip Aries, in a series of lectures he delivered at Johns Hopkins in 1973 and later published as Western Attitudes Towards Death from the Middle Ages to the Present, noted that beginning about 1930 there had been in most Western countries, and particularly in the United States, a revolution in accepted attitudes towards death. Death, he wrote, so omnipresent in the past that it was familiar, would be effaced, would disappear, it would become shameful and forbidden. And so what I thought was so moving with this is that, yes, you have her telling about this time in her life, but you are aware that there are, and I'm going to use egg quotation marks here, two narrators, because you have Joan Didion, the one who's experiencing this, but you also have Joan Didion, the future Joan Didion, who's now writing about it. So you have her future insights with what she was going through at the same time. And I felt that it worked very well altogether. And that is what I have finished reading. Currently reading, I am reading, oh, I've lost one. No, I haven't. I just put all the books on top of it. So I've started The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I've been planning to read this one for Skadonkies, and I've managed to get a copy last year, and now this year I'm reading it. I'm also reading Why Mummy Swears, which is a book my mummy got me because I read the first page and I thought it was flipping hilarious. But I will read that first page to you when I talk about this book again. And then the last book that I'm currently reading is for school, and it is When Kids Can't Read, What Teachers Can Do. And this is a huge thing at the moment that I am facing. I'm working currently at a very good school. We have very good feeder primary schools. I suppose in non-South African language, that is because high school here is the last 5 years of your education, and the 7 years before they're not primary school. So the different primary schools that feed into us are usually of very good quality. But I'm sitting, it was with 13 kids in my one class in grade 8 who cannot read. And when I mean they cannot read, they cannot read. I have been doing phonics with them. We've been doing cat, because they thought it said Sadie. Don't even go there. It's because they weren't taught phonics. So it's C-A-T. But anyway, so I've been dealing with that. And so we've got up to pretty much the more complex vowels. And I need to look at other things that I need to do with them as well. So I need to start developing brain power for comprehension strategies. I need to look at giving them words, high frequency words that they can start drilling so that they can read them faster without having to sound them out. And I saw this book on Loot, which is an online shop. You know how I said I would never go buy books online because, you know, how's it? I don't even have to get out my pajamas to do this. Well, I started. The next thing I will be buying is Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson, because it's way cheaper than my favorite ever bookshop, and I feel like a traitor saying that, because dang, those women are amazing. They're the best service going. But anyway, this book, I found it cost me just over 300, and for one, I'm finding it very cool because it's validating a lot of what I've already been doing and what I've been doing for years. I do apparently have good instincts with this, but it's also giving me some new ideas that I can try. And yeah, you know how Malala is fighting for education for girls? Well, the remedial teacher at my school and myself might have accidentally thought about starting a movement to do with literacy and education in this country. I think it's ridiculous that I can sit with so many kids, and this is not even the first year. Last year it was even more, because I had the weakest classes, and I would say the majority of them were illiterate in one way or another. If I could do phonics, then they still couldn't comprehend what they were reading. And how are these children ever going to progress? But anyway, so that's what I've been dealing with, and I've actually been making progress. The headmaster, yeah, he acknowledged publicly in the staff meeting what I had accomplished so far already with them this term, because there have been noticeable improvements in their marks, even in their other language. So apparently it's working, but I'm only sharing that because it's the first time in my life I've been given recognition for the effort that I've been putting in, and it felt amazing. In fact, it's made all this hard work feel completely worth it, and I'm gunning to go now for next term. But I need to finish reading that book so that I've got more ideas, more strategies, so that I can go in with more skills to help even my classes that are not as weak. So that's been me, and now I think what I'm going to film next, I'm sorry, I'm doing like load filming at the moment because it's been so long, and I have now got my computer up and running again because my hard drive died. It's like, yay! Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how to find my printer, but other than that, everything's going great. Anyway, that is me for now. Happy reading. Bye.